You look all nice and tan.
Well, that's because, right? We are live. We are officially live, and behind the scenes, backstage, we're having some giggles, but that's okay because we're going to have some fun laughs. We're also going to
Uh,
provide some great value. My name is Renee Funk. I'm the team leader of the Funk Collection brokered by eXp Realty. And today I get to share time, and all of you do as well, with the one and only Michael Prendergast. It's been a
Hello.
long time coming. I'm excited to chat with you.
I'm excited to chat with you, Renee.
So, okay, we're diving in. We are talking today about the Orlando, Florida second home market, short term rental communities, what we're seeing in the marketplace. So, if you are a buyer, a seller, a fellow realtor who would like to know more, who would like to peel back the layers in this segment of the business, I have the guest today that's going to be able to help you with that. Let's dive in, Michael.
Yay.
All right. What are you seeing in the second home market in Orlando? What's the temperature out there? What are you seeing in the field?
So, there is it's an extremely dynamic market right now, and has been for the past quite a few months. Probably since the beginning of the year, to be honest with you, although it's shifted slightly. We're seeing properties going pretty quickly. As they come on, they're going pretty quickly. There's a pent up demand for these vacation homes, and they are doing so much better. There's an enthusiasm behind the performance that's being generated. I think there's a nationwide pent up demand to get out of the home because of everything that we've experienced over the past 2 years. And what better place to go than where there's sun all the time, and where there's so much to do, even if it's just enjoying the sun and the warmth in the outdoors. So we're seeing a very high occupancy. We saw a massive occupancy in May, June, July, and August, and that, of course, is since people are down here, they're going, hey, I want to look at vacation homes, and it's really been pretty dynamic. So,
I love that you use the word dynamic. I think that dynamic is such a strong way to describe the Orlando real estate market as a general term. And it has been for decades because we have many segments. We have a primary residential market. That's one segment. We have a second home market. That's another segment. We have a specific second home market that is just focused on short term rental communities, which is a lot of what you and I are chatting about today. We obviously have great investment opportunities for those that are considering to rent it out long term.
correct.
Coincidentally, on our team, and one of your amazing areas of specialties is helping buyers and sellers within the community zoned for short term rental.
Correct.
And dynamic is a great way to describe that, especially when we're looking at 2020 and 2021. How have you seen this year change as compared to this crazy, challenging 2020 that we all experienced?
Well, I'll step back for just 1 second and just say that Orlando as a whole, even though we're going to focus a little bit on the secondary or the second home or short-term vacation market, Orlando as a whole is crazy on fire right now. There's 1,000 people a day moving to Florida. I mean, 1,000 people a day. Now, Orange County, which is where Orlando exists. Orange County came out with some stats a short time ago, like about a month ago, which I thought was pretty interesting. And they were talking about 2050, expected growth by 2050. And 2050 to me, I thought, I'm thinking, well, that's a million years away, but it's really not. It's like 28 years, right? But right now, there's a little under 1.2 million people in Orange County. And the expectation by 2050 is over 2 million. So we're going to almost double. And so there's so many great reasons for it, right? The weather is fantastic. Our taxes are non-existent, and at least our payroll taxes. And it's a great place to live. Even our property taxes are pretty reasonable compared to a lot of other areas. And you can sell a 1,600 square foot home on Long Island and move down here and buy a 2,800 square foot home and have your property taxes be cut in half for the same or less money. So. But getting to back to the short-term rental market from 2020 to 2021, 2020 saw a lot of dramatic drops in price points, and there's numerous different people that have different reasons for owning vacation homes here. Some want a second home and they just want to offset their costs, and that might be why they throw it into a rental program. Maybe they want to pay their taxes, maybe they want to pay their HOA, but they're really looking for a vacation home, right? And then there's people that are they need the income really to be able to sustain their vacation home. And then there's people that really just want to try and make money, right? So you got these dynamics going, and some people just buy it as a second home and don't rent it at all. But you got all these dynamics going on. Well, the folks that really needed that income, we saw, normally we see about 76,000, 78,000 people coming to Orlando for Disney and Universal and, vacationing, and the convention centers and everything else. And last year there was only 35,000. And as you and I discussed, a lot of those folks may have been local, may have been, folks coming from Georgia across. A lot of them may have been
the drivable, right? The drivable,
right?
Yeah.
Or the train, high-speed rail, right? High-speed rail from Miami coming up here. It's an amazing luxury rail system coming up that they're expanding as we speak as well. But a lot of those also were people that, live in other parts of the country that owned these vacation homes that said, hey, if I'm going to be shut down and my kids are going to be homeschooling and I can work from home, I'm going to my vacation home. And so we saw a major migration of people coming down here for, and stayed in their vacation homes. But getting back to the reason why it became a little dynamic is those folks that needed that income struggled a little bit. And some were able to drop long-term tenants in there and stayed fine. But other folks, said, you know what, we're gonna get out. And so pricing eroded during that time frame just so that people could get out quick.
In 2020, you're referencing.
2020, right, yeah. Right. And it was short-lived because people started gobbling them up, and people started realizing, hey, there's still a demand. I can get what I want for it, and prices started going up. Well, right now you got all these people that are making good money on their properties because of it. So prices are a little more normal. Now, when I say that, we're still on sale. I mean, and what I mean by that is, if you look at the highs of 2006 and 2007, most of the country has surpassed those artificial highs, and rightly so, because it's 14 years later, 15 years, 16 years later. Florida still has not. We are still, I mean, there are condos, beautiful luxury condos in Reunion that went for close to 600,000 in 2006 that are under 3 right now. So, there's still some really great values out there. But we have stabilized a little bit from the lows of last year, if that makes sense. Still on sale, still great values, still a great time to purchase in Florida, but it's not the cut rate discounts of last year because the units are profitable now. People don't have to.
I found it to be very interesting. If we look at 2020, and I'll go out on a limb, I want to say it was around end of summer 2020, definitely once we arrived into the fall of 2020, we were really paying close attention as a team to the short-term rental communities had higher inventory than the primary residential markets in Central Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And you work heavily in the second home market. And I would love, you would come into morning huddle, we all meet in morning huddle, and you would say, just so you know, I hear all of you over there talking about these primary residence subdivisions and communities, and it's so tough and the inventory is lower. And you're like, I have inventory over here. And that went on for a short time around the end of summer, yeah, around beginning of fall. And then we could see that shift that would happen, that investors, buyers, people woke up and said, Orlando, second home market.
Yeah,
there's an opportunity there. And there were a number of buyers and investors who hopped on that inventory. It was ever so slight though, because then we could see that second home market inventory in Central Florida started meeting the lower inventory that we were seeing in the primary residence market too.
Yeah, and some people jumped into the vacation homes, and because a lot of the communities you can live in full time. So I actually had some clients. I had some clients from New York. Gentleman, awesome customers. Owns a tech company, computer tech company, and service tech company, and they wanted to move here, and they picked a vacation home, and the logic was, hey, I can get a great value on it because it was 2020, it was during that window, that tight window, and number two, I can live in a resort, and enjoy life, yeah. And they were so used to a beautiful apartment that they had in New York, but it was small, and now they have this big, beautiful 6-bedroom home. So yeah, it was interesting, but it's still, I mean, we're starting to see more inventory coming on right now in the vacation home market, which is good because it's the beginning. Like September is traditionally the slowest month of the year for short-term vacation, right? Because kids go back to school, and people go back to work, and they're not in the summer mode anymore. Yeah. And then also right now, additionally, we're getting a little bit of a double whammy because the internationals can't come here, right? So Europe, even though we had a record summer, that was without Europe, and that was without Canada, and that was without a lot of South America. So, which, we're an international destination. We're not, Myrtle Beach, where you only have people going to play golf from the US, right? We're international.
Well, I want to pause you there for a second too, and that's a key point. When we're talking about our Orlando and Central Florida real estate market, you are correct. Very much international drive. We love our foreign national friends, and we typically have so many of them here. Mm-hmm. So many of them can't be here. So for those who are considering buying, remember, Michael, when you're saying Orlando is still on sale, that's correct. It is. And also the marketplace currently is by and large domestic buyers and sellers, right? And so currently, yeah. As soon as we start seeing our currently, when our foreign national friends come back,
there is a tsunami getting ready to hit Florida, and I don't mean that in any negative way where we're all going to be underwater. But there's literally, I have probably 15, 16 people from the UK alone that have been chomping at the bit, saving their money. They haven't been able to go anywhere or do anything, and they want to buy a home here. And
they're waiting.
Yeah, you'd be shocked. There are so many Brits and so many Europeans and so many South Americans that own vacation homes here. People don't really realize. Sometimes even our market is impacted by the ebb and flow of the dollar because people, use currency to get deals and then to make money later on down the line. So we have a uniquely dynamic market. I had a lot of people actually during that time frame last year that were purchasing homes from people from Brazil, for example, where they had bought where it was 2 real to the dollar and they were selling at 5 real to the dollar. So it didn't hurt them to sell their home at a discount because they were making money by bringing their money back again. So there's a little bit of dynamics that goes on that probably doesn't exist elsewhere in the country because of the international flow. So
you and I just came off of a meeting with all of our awesome agents. We met Friday morning at 9:00 and it was interesting. And this was not planned, but our meeting this morning was on the second home market. And then you and I decided very recently to hop on and share a conversation on the second home market. One of the misconceptions, and this is information whether you're a realtor watching or whether you're a buyer considering the market that is going to purchase for second homes to be rented short-term rental. There are ingredients that are super important that mix and combine together for the recipe of maximizing rental potential. And a couple that we talk a lot about is how close is the property to
PAP.
Walt Disney World. PAP. I knew you were going to go there. Michael, PAP. What the heck is PAP? Tell us.
Proximity to the parks. How close is it? And Disneyland, even though people come from Universal as well and SeaWorld and even Legoland, Disney is really the central target. That's where the pin gets dropped. Yep. And so proximity, amenities, what does the community have to offer? And think about this for those folks that have come down here in the past and you're a multi-time customer, multi-time visitor to Orlando for Disney. The first time you go, you try to jam everything into 4 days. You get a 4-day park hopper, right?
You're
And
exhausted.
at the end of the second day, you're dragging the kids out saying, we're never coming back here again, and it's the kids are crying and screaming. It's like everybody's burnt. So the next time you come down, you go, you know what, we're going to space it out. We're going to go for 2 days. We're going to have a day of rest. We're going to go for a day, have a day of rest. And so, having a community that has really cool amenities like water slides or lazy river or a movie theater on site, restaurant, amazing poolside, big resort style pool or video arcade, things like that enable you to not have to leave the community on your day of rest, right? You don't want to jump in the car and have to go somewhere, and because you need downtime, right? So amenities are really, really important, and
So proximity, amenities,
price,
yes,
price. What's it going to
what does
cost?
that mean?
What's it going to cost me? So now we're talking about the people that are looking at renting your short-term vacation property, right? So how close is it to the park? What are the amenities? Do I have the ability to stay at home, and it is their home while they're there, right? And what's it going to cost me? Because I'm willing to pay more if I'm closer to the parks. Maybe we can Uber it. We don't have to pay the $25 parking fee. I don't have to worry about getting to my car. I can get in and out quicker. I get dropped off at the gate. Maybe I can Uber it. And it's going to take less time. So proximity, amenities, great amenities, don't have to do anything. We're not going to, during that down day, I'm not going to have to spend a lot of money to keep the family entertained because there's stuff to do here. I'm willing to pay more if those first two things are in play, right?
Well, so, and pay more though, right, is when we're talking, this is all the ingredients to the recipe of success to maximize rental potential. That's what we're really referencing here is. So when we talk about the consumer who will rent the property out, they're willing to pay more front-loaded, perhaps per night, especially when we're talking about multi-generational, especially when we're talking about potential consumers who are booking more than one hotel room. Traditionally, they're spending money on 2 and 3 hotel rooms. Mm-hmm. But when they're analyzing the assessment is, should I book owner Bob's short-term rental community and property that's only 5 miles from Walt Disney World, has its own lazy river, has all the amenities you're referencing? What is the concession I'm making by booking owner Bob's property? Not a whole lot, because it might front load a little bit of the nightly cost. However, a lot of times we're seeing, especially now, they're saving nightly. They're saving on all of the extras when they stay in the short-term rental. And I'm like, I stay in more short-term rentals and more Airbnbs now and over the last 2 years than I have in my entire life because of these conveniences that you're talking about. So Michael, I love that you talk about PAP, price, amenities, proximity, because you're setting the buyers up for success to know why some of these ingredients are so important when they're considering community locations, amenities, and proximity.
Well, I mean, we sometimes will get buyers that'll say, but my dollars go so much further in this community. And I'm like, but, it's 25 minutes from Disney. It's 30 minutes from Disney. So, yeah, you're going to save money on the front end. But, and I'll quote Mr. Funk, the rest of your costs are all fixed, right? So you're still going to pay the same electricity, still going to pay the same, all the different service fees. You're still going to, everything's going to be the same. So you might save a little up front, but you're going to get less nightly. You're going to get less occupancy. There's a lot of things you're not going to get. People want convenience. And that's where the amenities come in and where the proximity comes in, right? People want convenience, and they're willing to pay extra for convenience because that saves them time and effort and energy and potentially money. So
when you're working with buyers that are considering which locations and the communities and the amenities, I love how focused you are on really making sure they understand all the different opportunities and understanding that focus on these details early on sets them up for a lifetime of success in their investment. And then what happens is when you purchase a home that can be rented out for short-term rental, you really set yourself up to stop spending on vacations and start investing
in yourself.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that's one of the things that they have to take into account. I mean, there's there's all sorts of, and I'm not an accountant, never played one on TV.
Call yours, right? Call the accountant.
I graduated with a accounting degree, but I don't even balance my own checkbook. So, but but that being said, it there's tax advantages from, I've been told by our clients, from a depreciation standpoint, from when you travel down here because you're coming to check on your property. I've even heard, and I don't know I'm not an accountant, like I said, I don't know but investing in, like, if you go to a park, theme park, or you got to check out the amenities because this is your business, right?
Right.
So there's other tax advantages. So that's one of the major things you have to take into account. But then the money savings, like you just talked about, are another major thing. I mean, think about it. If you come down here to stay at a really nice hotel, like a Gaylord Palms, for example, which is owned by Marriott, beautiful vacation home, big vacation hotel, big water slides, bunch of restaurants on property, a cool kids splash area. Well, you know what? Windsor Hills has a lot of that. They have a lot of the same things, right? I mean, they have more of a little bistro on site, not a full-fledged restaurant, but right around the corner, there's a whole bunch of restaurants. But you're going to spend like $300 to $500 a night over there for one room. And if mom wants to drink water, the kids are awake. If dad wants to stay up and watch, TV, the kids are all awake. And unless you get multiple rooms, well, for the same price, you can get one of these, 4-bedroom homes or beyond, 5, 6 bedroom, 7 bedroom.
You just mentioned one of my favorite things. So as the consumer side, when we travel and we utilize Airbnbs and short-term rental communities, I love and value most the ability that I can get up in the morning and make coffee and do my own thing and not wake everybody up. I have a teenager, right? Teenager sleeps till probably noon. and in a hotel room, that would never be possible.
Right.
So it's one of the things I value most right now.
Yeah. So, and I have two younger kids, and there's movies that my wife and I like to watch that we don't want our kids watching. So unless you plan on watching Disney all the time, which nothing wrong with that. At least they throw some Avengers in there and some other cool stuff that maybe we can all enjoy. But you're kind of stuck when you're in that hotel room. But the other thing too, just think about this. You go to breakfast, and again, I love the Gaylord Palms. We do stay vacations over there. In fact, we're going to be going to an event there sometime in the very near future.
We are in a few weeks.
Yeah. And we'll be staying there for that, right? So the kids can enjoy some of the amenities. But
me too. Hey, I'll see you there. Are we going to the same event?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
So but breakfast is like $35 a kid, a person. It's like, so you're paying for 4 people, you're paying $130, $140, not including the tip for breakfast. Whereas in a vacation rental, it's like, how much is the best package of eggs at Publix is like $5 because the chickens got to run around and not be caged up, right? So I mean, and that gives you 2 days worth of breakfast. You add some toast and some, you're talking about a couple of bucks a person. So there's a big cost savings involved with that as well. So
I love it. What would you say is a top tip for a buyer? We've talked about a lot of tips, right? But what's a top tip for a buyer who's considering buying in Orlando in a short-term rental community?
Okay. So the first thing is, I have to let everybody know, if you're gonna say, what are the numbers on this home? I want to know what the numbers are. I'm going to tell you right now, it is really hard to get, and it may be non-existent. And I try to tell people all the time that we got some legwork to do to try and dig that out, because you could have 3 homes, and here's my pizza parlor analogy. You could have 3 pizza parlors in Brooklyn, all on the same street, that all do drastically different. They're all in the same block, all the same potential demographics, right? But they all will do different amounts, whether or not the owner is taking a participation in the process, right? Are they owning it? Because if you hire somebody to run your company, you're going to make way less than if you're owner managed, right? Number 2, what's the ingredients? What's the quality of the food? What's the atmosphere like within the property? And how great are your staff, right? Are your people very service oriented? So that's going to make a big difference. Well, the same is true in vacation homes. You could have 3 vacation homes all on the same street, in the same community, all the same capability for heads and beds, and they will all do different things based upon those variables. Is it set up for success? Does it sell the additional magic of Orlando, right? Are there themed rooms? Is there an Avenger room or a Harry Potter room or a, Mickey room? Who's managing the property for you? Is it well cleaned?
Huge.
Does it look,
Huge.
Is your cleaning crew incentivized to look under every nook and cranny? Is your management team putting like a $20 bill in one place where they might not think about vacuuming, to spark that enthusiasm? Are the people that are taking care of your property happy? Do they like what they're doing? And then are you using dynamic pricing? If you're seeing that Airbnb is blown up and there's hardly any occupancies and you have a week left, you need to be raising your price because you're probably going to get it, right? So, what December would cost you to book today is a lot different than what December is going to cost you in November to book. Just like first seat on the plane versus last seat on the plane. Same.
I got to touch on the December thing too, because this isn't. And again, we're talking about when we're working with a buyer, and I understand buyers want to come to a realtor and say, I need the numbers, I need the financials, give me the financials on this one property and that one property. And what's critical is it's important to really understand that the numbers have an incredible amount of variables and drivers that yielded that result. So Michael, everything you shared is spot on. And you mentioned December, another very key variable that often can be overlooked if we just look at spreadsheets and numbers off the bat without peeling all the layers back, is owners of those same 3 houses you explained, all cookie cutters, right? All exactly the same. One might assume have all the same results. Owners can all utilize the property in varying amounts. So maybe an owner comes the entire month of July, comes 2 weeks between December and New Year's, right? Blocking out holidays, comes in spring during peak time, right? Around holidays, comes over Thanksgiving.
Right.
Maybe that's one owner. Another owner doesn't come at all. They let it book out all the time. And then another owner comes only in September, early May. Those are shoulder seasons that are typically slower.
Yeah.
So the numbers are going to be skewed because one owner's using it in all the peak times. One owner's not using. Yeah, one owner's not using it at all, and some are only coming down for shoulder seasons.
Correct, 100%, and that's why they're so dramatically different. So what I try to do is I try to look at, okay, in this particular community, I find a property that's been pretty successful, right, where you're able to actually capture that data, and it's pretty successful. But usually the ones that are really successful, they're charging a lot more, and 9 times out of 10, the owner's doing it all themselves. Mm-hmm. So
another factor.
Yeah, and one of the things we talked about earlier on the call earlier today is when you have an Airbnb account, you can't necessarily transfer that account to somebody else. So if they got tons of bookings through the end of the year, there's going to be some attrition when you're canceling and moving that client over to the new Airbnb account for the new owner. So, it's kind of like buying a brokerage. It's not worth next year what it's worth today, right? And which is why I'm here. Jeff talked me into doing this instead.
Well, you're doing a pretty darn good job, Michael.
Yeah, and Jeff did not steer me wrong. So, but it's kind of the same, so what I try to recommend to my buyers is let's look at a community where we know there are some big success stories, and let's attempt to replicate it. Right. Let's find another 5-bedroom home that's doing the same as that, or another 6-bedroom home, or another 4-bedroom home, or a 3-bedroom condo, or whatever it happens to be, or a townhome. And because there is something for everyone, and I'll get into that in just one second, but there is a rental customer for every home in these communities, whether it be a $200,000 condo, or whether it be an $11.5 million reunion, crazy, amazing home. And those are real numbers. So there are people to rent all of those. It's when people say, well, what's the best one to buy for a rental? They all work. There's a client for all of them. It's just a matter of, are you going to do the work to make it work for you? But the oh gosh, lost my train of thought.
It happens.
Where did I go? Yeah.
We're talking. So we're talking about the top tip
Yeah.
for buyers considering.
All
You
right.
just
So
talked about a lot of really important criteria about why we need to peel layers back when we say we want to look at the financials on a property.
yeah,
And it's much more than what's on that spreadsheet. There's so many drivers to that. And fellow realtors, please, please, please know this, that it is super important. We can't just look at the numbers. We have to understand the variables. We have to understand the use type, the lifestyle, and the number of times each of those owners were using it.
right.
Critical importance, rather than just, oh, here's the property, here's the P&L.
Yeah.
It's bigger than that, because you have to understand the why and what habits and lifestyle and number of times that it was used, and property management companies and location, and you have to understand all those.
That is involved in it. The easiest client to deal with is the one that says, you know what, Mike, we come to Disney like 5 times a year. And we've been staying at hotels, and now the family's at a point now where we need multiple rooms. We're thinking, wouldn't it just be really cool to just own a place down there? But we want some help paying some of the bills. Yeah,
Yep.
we can do that. That's the easiest in the world to do. It becomes a little more, and I'll use that word again in a different way, a little more dynamic when the client wants to, get a cash on cash return. It can be done. It certainly can be done, but there's a lot more hands-on activity that needs to take place on the part of the buyer.
And what you just mentioned is critical, because buyers entering the marketplace need to work with a realtor who is very well versed in both, the second home market, but especially in the short-term rental communities that are based on zoning and HOA regulations.
Correct.
And understand there's times when we as realtors will say, we can look at all the factors and consider short-term rental. I also would like you, Mr. Buyer, to look at all the factors and consider buying a property for long-term rental, because there are times when someone may start off thinking they are going to do short-term rental communities, and they end up realizing, to your point, of maybe I want to be more hands-off and I just want mailbox money. I don't have a vested interest to come and visit 3, 4, 5 times a year. Often those buyers say, you know what, I think I am going to invest in a property and rent it out long-term, which is also a great opportunity here in Orlando.
Right. I mean, literally, I was searching for one of our clients that's put her purchasing on hold, and she was looking at 2 zip codes, Dr. Phillips zip codes. Great community, by the way. 32836, 32819, right? And she was looking at a particular price range, 4-bedroom home, and she had a really good budget. There were 2 rentals available in that entire zip code range. So yeah, there is a shortage of, because so many people moving here, there is a shortage of rentals as well. And with the way that our pricing continues to go up, meaning our property value is increasing because there's so many people from other parts of the country that are moving here with,
bells on,
house rich. Well, they're house rich, right? Their property is worth this, and down here with that they can buy the same thing. So it's causing a little bit of appreciation for all of us down here, which is great, and it's going to continue, we believe, although I don't have a crystal ball. But an investment property for long term is also a great play here, and we're seeing more and more people do that as well. However, I will say that if you are a cash investor and you're looking at short-term rentals, you can make money and you can do pretty well on it. If you're, a lot of people, and this was a topic this morning too, they'll say like, I'm looking to get a return on my investment. I said, great. So what are you investing? Well, I want to buy a $500,000, 6-bedroom home, whatever. Okay. So what are you investing? Well, $500,000. Are you going to finance this? Absolutely. I'm going to finance it. I'm going to put 20% down. That's $100,000. So you're investing $100,000. And that's one of the thought processes we have to get through to our clients too sometimes, is that I'm not disagreeing with them. It's a big investment that they are making, but they are not investing 500. You can't expect, if you're going to invest 100,000 in the stock market, you can't expect $500,000 worth of return. Right. Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's important for them to understand that going right into it, you're going to have a 3-4% interest rate on 400,000 that has to be covered, right? So that's part of
I
your
love that.
costs.
I love that tip. And also on the finance conversation too, another reason why it's critical to work with realtors who specialize in second home purchases in short-term rental communities is because when financing, there can be communities that can be very challenging to finance or might not be financeable at all and much more ideal for a cash purchase. Another thing I wanted to remind everybody is in Central Florida, y'all have probably heard we have HOAs in many communities,
And they're
and
good. They're not evil.
oh, they save us in so many ways, and quite frankly, they're very important when you're choosing a community for short-term rental. They can be very helpful. And the reason I mentioned the zoning and the HOAs is because poor buyers out there trying to handle and sift and find the properties they were considering to purchase for a short-term rental community, and they're doing it alone or they're not working with a realtor who knows it like the back of their hand. It's very difficult to find the true accurate data over what is the zoning, what is the HOA requirement. Example, on our website, realtyinorlando.com, we have everything laid out. The authority, right? Here's all the communities. You know, as a buyer, when you're looking at the site, exactly which communities are zoned for short-term rental, therefore saving you time. And also, Michael, when you're sending properties to your buyers, you're only sending them properties that are within the right zoning and use type.
Correct. And that's it's critical. When you're talking about having a realtor that has an understanding of the market, I'll give you a couple of examples of why it could be so dynamically important. And there's that word again.
It's a big word. We're using it often.
It is. We're using it a lot. There's a lot of other factors that go into this that are hidden behind the scenes. So, for example, there are a lot of communities that are zoned for short-term rental, and even some that aren't, that have what are called CDDs, Community District Development Fees. And I've had people say, why are the taxes on this 6-bedroom in the same county, $2,500 more than the taxes on this one? Well, it could be because it hasn't been assessed, or because one is homesteaded, or because, there's some factors that can be involved, but it could also be because there is a CDD involved. And the CDD is where the developer goes out when they're building the community and he says, okay, or she says, we're gonna spend $5 million on the amenities center. We don't have that liquid cash up front. We don't want to borrow hard money for it. So we're going to take out a municipal bond from the county, and that will be paid back in taxes over a period of time, which is typically 30 years. So when you're looking at your taxes, you go, geez, why is that taxes so high? Now, when you're purchasing initially from the developer, it is required that the developer shares with you that there is a CDD and there's an addendum that needs to be signed. But when you're buying it on the secondary market, that is it's not necessary that be disclosed. So again, working with a good realtor that can kind of walk you through that process and understand it. Does that mean you run away from those communities? No, it just means that you need to understand that it exists, because a lot of times those communities do have crazy amenities. And if the developer's not charging it over here, they're going to find somewhere else to get it. They're going to get it one way or the other. It's just a matter of understanding where the bucket is. So
it becomes the CDD, instead of allowing that or an HOA fee to scare us as a prospective buyer. It's a line item that we need to assess in the overall picture, right? And I agree with you 1,000%. It's not something to run from.
No.
It's something to fully peel back the layers, understand, look at the numbers, and know that a lot of times when we're talking about having additional amenities in the community, that can be another item that will help you maximize your rental potential.
Right.
Because what we want to do when we're working with buyers is give them an opportunity to recreate a resort-like feel that sets them up to have many consumers who say, "Ooh, yes, I would like to stay at Michael's second home," right? We have like 3 minutes until we wrap. So Michael, last thought.
Couple of quick things. When and if you're looking for vacation properties here in Orlando, remember why people are coming here. There's kind of like 3 legs to the stool, right? So if you have a place on, again, not picking on Maryland, but on the Maryland shore, and and it's a beach place that you're renting out. You have the beach and you have your home, and those two things are what you have to market. But here you have Disney, you have the home, and you also have the community, because the community really adds a lot of value to that leg. But the home needs to sell the magic. You get a home on Key West, you get some rope, you get some Tommy Bahama looking stuff, and you're good to go. When you're here in Orlando, having a couple of themed rooms that where when mom or dad are flipping through Airbnb, or a family member is flipping through Airbnb, and they see that Harry Potter room, or they see that Star Wars themed room, or the garage converted into a game room or home theater, and they go, "Whoa, what was that?" That's what's going to draw more attention to your property. So that's part of your merchandising the property. It's not just the beach and not just the home. So keep that in mind. Doesn't mean you need to buy a home like that, but get an understanding of what it's going to take in order to make it work, because it's easy to replicate it. So earlier we said, what are some of the tips? The tip that I share with people is, when you're going through and you're looking at all these really cool vacation homes, screenshots and things, save it, because you can replicate that. You don't need to find that perfect home. Let's find one that's similar, that's in the same community, that has the same potential, and maybe is not maxed out from a price standpoint, that you can get in and do a little on your own and make it work.
You just put a spotlight on another reason why working with a realtor who specializes in this segment is critical, and that is what you're referencing. Realtors are marketers, right? I believe we as realtors are marketers in the field of real estate. And what you just outlined is a shining spot for you when you've increased your unique value proposition, because for your buyers, you're teaching them on day one, this is how we can look at marketing your property and merchandising your property, thinking of that property like the product that it is. And quite frankly, you can go to any of the portals where short-term rentals are rented out, Airbnb, and nothing to do with the portal, more to do with the owners who aren't as well versed in marketing, who don't realize that that's a miss. It can be a miss for them, as opposed to really knowing how to make the property and product shine, merchandising it, as you just mentioned, and knocking the marketing out of the park, which will also increase the rentability. So you're awesome.
You're awesome. So, thanks. I have fun. I love working with my clients. I love that my clients get to buy places where they can build lifetimes of memories. I think that's the coolest thing ever. And somebody else helps accent the cost of it, or pay for it, or even help them make money with it. So it's a very cool thing.
I've enjoyed sharing this morning with you. You're a rock star. Everyone here, feel free to drop comments or questions in. Michael is tagged on all of these posts. Where will they find you if you want to give everyone your contact information?
You can get me at 321-340-6456. That is my Everytime number. You can also email me at michael@realtyinorlando.com, and you can find me on realtyinorlando.com/ Michael Prendergast.
Just Michael.
Michael, that'll work.
Just Michael. Cool. Yeah.
There you go.
Michael, you rock. I hope you know how much Jeff and I adore working together and being in business with you, because seeing what you are doing, seeing the level of service that you give all of your buyers, especially in the short-term rental communities, I have a soft spot in my heart for that. So I love seeing and being a part of your passion. Thank you.
Thank you. I love being a part of the Funk Collection. It's been a fantastic ride, and it's amazing. Every other month I look back and go, wow, look how much I've learned in this past month. Real estate's a pretty incredible place to be if you're willing to put in the effort and put in the time and really be hugely focused on your client and their needs. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Well, that is what you do. And hey, this real estate thing's pretty good gig. All right, everybody, thank you for following along. We're here talking about Fridays with the Funk Collection. There will be more on Friday, so come back and join us. Thank you, Michael. Make it a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.